皆さんこんにちは。ようこそ Pixiv Welcome 主催の Drawfest3 にお越しいただきありがとうございます。Hello everyone and welcome. And thank you for joining us at Drawfest3 powered by Pixiv and Wacom. 私は司会兼通訳のメラニです。本日はよろしくお願いいたします。Thank you for joining us today. I am your host and interpreter, Melanie. It's nice to see you again if you participated in Drawfest 1 and 2. Drawfest 1と2参加した方は私のことを覚えるでしょうか？覚えなくても大丈夫です。よろしくお願いします。今回で3回目となるこのドローフェスは人気イラストレーターやアニメーターから絵の描き方や創作テクニックを学べるイベントとなっています。This is the third installment of Drawfest, an event where popular illustrators and animators explain some of their tricks and techniques for drawing and creating various works of art. 今回のドローフェスはスタディデーとフィードバックデーに分けて開催します。Drawfest3 has been divided into 2 days, Study Day and Feedback Day. 本日は Study Day です and today is Study Day. 視聴者の皆さんは Study Day で登壇者から学んだ内容を生かして1週間の間に作品制作と Pixiv への投稿を行っていただきます。作品のテーマは配信の最後にお伝えするので、皆さんはゆっくりとした気持ちでこの講座をご覧ください。The audience is encouraged to take what they learned from the lecturer at today's study day and use it to create their own artwork, then post it on Pixiv throughout the upcoming week. The theme for the animation we would like viewers to create will be revealed at the end of the program, so sit back and enjoy the lecture.フィードバックデーでは登壇者がその投稿作品の紹介や改善点などのアドバイスを行い、プログラムごとに重賞作品を選出します。During Feedback Day, our lecturers will introduce a few entries and offer advice on areas to improve on. Winning entries will also be selected for each program. 受賞者の方には商品として共催のワコムから液晶ペンタブレット Wacom One 13がプレゼントされます。Winners will receive a Wacom One pen tablet courtesy of our co-organizer Wacom. 皆さんぜひ積極的にご参加ください。Everyone is encouraged to participate. じゃあ SNS についてちょっと話したいと思います。Let me tell you a little bit about our social media policy this time. イベントを盛り上げるために皆さんにお願いがございます。ハッシュタグは YouTube の概要欄に記載しています。ぜひプログラムの感想は Twitter でイベントハッシュタグの Drawfest3 や Pixiv には各プログラムのタグをつけて作成した作品を投稿してください。We'd like to ask for your cooperation to help make this event a raging success. Feel free to share your opinion, impressions of our programs, and creation processes via Twitter along with the hashtag Drawfest3.And upload your finished creations to Pixiv with the specific hashtag cited in the description of each program, and you might be able to receive feedback from the lecturer on Feedback Day. 視聴 URL は事前登録した方限定での提供となりますので、視聴 URL はつけずにご投稿ください。また気になったことや登壇者への質問は YouTube のチャットでお願いします。Links to view today's programs were only provided to those who pre-registered, so please do not include the link in your post. Also, if you have any particular questions for the lecturer, please feel free to post them in the chat. あと今回は元の日本語の音声と英語の吹き替え音声はございますのでご注意ください。Also, for today's program, we have a version with the original Japanese audio and one with an English dub of the audio, so please make sure you are watching the right one.If you watch the English version, you might hear a familiar voice. 英語吹き替え版を見る方は分かるような声聞こえるかもしれないです。それは私の声です。私はミカの声優になりました。すいませんでした。If you were watching the English dub, you may hear my voice. I was Mika, so I hope you like it. はい、プログラムの最後に登壇者への質問のお時間もございます。たくさんの質問をお待ちしています。Ample time has been allotted during the program to allow for questions for our presenters. We look forward to hearing from you. それでは皆さんで盛り上がっていきましょう。Let's all have a great time together. それでは早速2つ目のプログラムに参りましょう。Alright, let's get this show on the road. 2つ目のプログラムはミカピカゾが花節に学ぶイラストアニメーション道場です。 Our second program today is Welcome to the Animation Dojo. Mika Pikazo learns from Hanabushi. 本プログラムは登壇者のミカ・ピカゾさんと一緒にイラストアニメーションの基礎や動かすことの楽しさ、表現方法のポイントを花節さんに学ぶアニメーション初心者が一歩踏み出すためのプログラムです。This program is designed for beginners in animation as they learn alongside Mika Pikazo as she takes her first step into studying the basics of animating illustrations, the joys of creating motion, and the key points of expression from our lecturer, Hanabushi. それではミカピカゾさん、Hanabushiさんによるプログラムのスタートです。So let's kick things off with our guest of honor, Mika Pikazo and Hanabushi. VTR どうぞ。Let's watch the video.
ミカ・ピカゾ、93年東京生まれ、イラストレーター、キャラクターデザイナー、フェイト・グランドオーダー、聖ショーナゴン、謎のランマル X、Vtubers かぐやルナ、Hakos ベールズ、バンダイナムコエンターテインメントデノンブなどのキャラクターデザインを手掛けています。Mika Pikazo is an illustrator and character designer born in Tokyo in 1993. She is the character designer for Shōnagon and Mysterious Ranmaru X from Fate Grand Order, Vtubers Kaguya Luna and Hakos Baelz, Namco Bandai Entertainment's Denonbu series, and more. Hanabushi イラストレーター、アニメーター。元トイアニメーション所属のアニメーターとして多くの作品に参加し、キャラクターデザイン、作画監督など幅広く担当。ミュージックビデオを通して2020年お勉強しといてよ、歌ずっと真夜中でいいのに。2021年暗く黒く歌ずっと真夜中でいいのにがアニメファン以外の層にも広まり、幅広い評価を得ました。Hanabushi is an illustrator and animator. Formerly affiliated with Toei Animation, he participated in many productions as an animator and has also worked extensively as a character designer and animation director. The music videos he made, such as Zutomayo's Study Me in 2020 and Darken in 2021, have been widely appreciated by people both in and out of the anime fan community.
Okay, and Mika Pikazo and Hanabushi are here with us today. Mika Pikazo さん、Hanabushi さん、よろしくお願いします。はい、Mika Pikazo さん、一コメントお願いします。
はい、イラストレーターのミカピカゾです。よろしくお願いします。
Oh, she is illustrator Mika Pikazo, and she's very happy to be here today. 通訳大丈夫です。はい。では、Hanabushi さん、一コメントどうぞ。
はい、どうも、Hanabushiと申します。主にはアニメ作ってます。いろいろ最近やってるんですけど、よろしくお願いします。
So hello, I'm Hanabushi. I am usually an animator, but I do a lot of different things as well, and I'm very happy to be here too. はい、ありがとうございます。はい、we are very happy to have you both here today. お二人とも改めてよろしくお願いいたします。早速ではございますが、プログラムがスタートしたいと思います。プログラムの後、皆さんからのご質問にお答えしたいと思いますので、気になったことは YouTube のチャットをお願いします。Okay, let's get things up and running. After the program, we are going to have time for questions, so please write down anything you want to ask in the chat. それではご覧ください。どうぞ。Okay, let's start.
When I made this blinking anime,
She's spinning this way, so her hair should follow along.
well, the first time I got in touch with Hanabushi was when I posted an illustration on Twitter, and he commented that it was cute. I've always been a fan of Hanabushi's animation and illustration, and I would watch his work from the shadows. And, well, I had wanted to approach him for a long time, so when he complimented my work, I sent him a DM asking if we could have a chat.
But I knew her already. She's kind of a celebrity.
Hey, I don't think so.
Still, I thought it'd be nice to get in touch. If I remember correctly, I told her I could teach her something simple.
To Hanabushi.
I had seen some of his animation videos, but I had never done animation work myself, and I had a strong feeling that it would be a lot of work. I thought it'd be fun, but I was scared nonetheless. So when I contacted him, I asked him how animation is actually made, and he showed one of the works he did as a hobby while going over his process. I wasn't sure that a beginner like me could pull it off, but he gave me very useful advice, and that was what pushed me to try out animation for the first time.
It doesn't feel like I've taught you anything special, though.
But it was all new to me. I was amazed.
Oni gave Mika a couple of simple tips, and before I knew it, her first animation was already done. She was great.
Learning animation by yourself sounds pretty hard. Many young artists nowadays are self-taught. They're so talented. I'm more like, what software should I use? What do I need? How should I go about it? So I had no idea where to start. So that's why I was really glad to have his supervision. It motivated me to take on this new challenge.
Well, thanks. I guess almost everybody's using Clip Studio Paint nowadays, right? At least that's what I'm using. I think Mika's been using it for our usual illustrations as well, right?
Yes, I always use Clip Studio Paint for my illustrations. And I heard before that you can also use it for animation. After we talked, I decided straight away which one of my works I'd like to animate. Oh, this is my very first animation. You can see here it says number 1. I read that the first, most basic step in animation is to make a character blink. So, I took a character I'd drawn in the past and tried to make her bat her eyes.
When you first showed me this animation, the character was blinking, but her eyebrows were static. I recommend animating her eyebrows as well to make the character more expressive. And I guess this is the result?
That's right. I took your advice. Originally, she was only blinking with her eyes, but the result looks way more natural if her eyebrows move as well. The eyelids and the eyebrows are connected, so I animated them to shift downward when the character blinks. I'm working with 4 different frames. One where the eyes are completely open and, wait a second. Here, one where they're only half open, one when they're half closed, and actually there are 5. Here's another one where the eyes are completely closed. And here's another version of the last one. So I used 5 different frames for my animation.
I see. You're using quite a lot of frames for a blinking animation.
Oh, got it.
If it were me, I'd only use about 3. I think I'd reuse the same layers for when she opens her eyes up again. This is some deluxe animation.
Oh,
Deluxe blinking.
oh, oh. You're right. This was my first attempt, but I still increased the number of in-between frames because I thought the outcome would look cuter.
That's good. Thinking of ways in which you can make your work look better is always important.
For this animation, I followed one of those basic video tutorials, and after replicating the exact frames and movements, I sort of did my own thing to try and improve the end result.
Is this the same draft you used for your final animation?
Wait, let me check. Actually, the final data got deleted. It was gone as soon as I was done. This is the work in progress, but if we look at the frames, I guess they're the same? Yeah, I believe they are the same.
I see. I'm impressed at how much detail you could pack into every single frame. You really got spirit.
Actually, when I made this blinking animation, I wasn't sure where to place the eye highlights. The original animation was fine, I guess, but the focus of the illustration is on her eyes, so I wanted to create more movement. So I added these smaller animated highlights. They're actually jiggling quite a lot. The blinking animation stayed the same, and I added another animation for the highlights.
I see. The shapes around her eyes are also well made, as they look consistent throughout the whole movement. They look very crisp. Those kinds of details makes me refer to this as illustration animation. In the world of anime, they always tell us to aim for simplicity. Only an illustrator would paint this level of detail. This looks like a nightmare to animate.
Oh, well, I found myself wondering what the heck I was thinking when I decided to add those shapes, but there was no going back, so I went with it.
But really, this could fit a new genre called illustration animation. In other words, animations that are made starting from a full-fledged illustration.
Which is totally different from your regular anime style animation.
Yeah, totally different story.
I see. As an illustrator, I've always placed much importance on the end result of my works. Even while I was working on this animation, I tried going for simple anime colors, but realized I was still aiming for a level of polish fit for an illustration. This isn't as detailed as the rest of my works, but I was going for an animation that can also be appreciated as an illustration. Before I made my first animation, I wasn't very confident that I'd be able to pull it off, but I believed that putting together multiple polished illustrations would work well enough. It's silly, I know. I really thought, okay, I just need to draw a few illustrations.
I guess our definition of polish is different. In anime, everything's fun and games during the sketch phase, but then
Oh, is that so?
nobody wants to do the clean copy.
Was that grueling, huh?
Yeah. I wish I could just do the sketches and call it a day.
I know what you mean. Because the same thing goes for illustration. Sketching is that phase where you come up with an idea and have fun putting everything on paper. But when it comes to the line art and coloring, the only fun parts are the ones you really love drawing. It can be a bit of a slog. For this work, I focused on creating a high-quality animation, so I didn't feel the same pressure to draw one of my regular polished illustrations. So in a way, it was a little easier. It was good to try my hand at something new.
In any case, your illustration animation looks gorgeous. It's a gorgeous blink.
Really? For this animation, I decided to alternate a single blink and a double blink. There's no particular reason behind it, it just looked cute.
Yeah, it's cute. How can I put it? It draws attention to her eyelashes. It looks nice.
Instead of going for natural looking eyes and eyelashes, I went for some colorful eye makeup. This means when I animated the eyes, I also had to animate the motifs around them. I thought the marks on her cheeks should move together with her eyes.
That really makes a difference. It gives the whole illustration a soft touch and conveys the plumpness of her cheeks.
Yeah. On the other hand, her nose and mouth are static. I kept her muscle structure in mind and only chose to animate certain parts.
There's no fixed set of rules when it comes to blinking animation, or any other animation really. But you should remember that the blink of an eye is usually much faster than this.
Oh, really?
Try to use yourself as a reference. Look, when I blink like this, you can hardly see the moment when my eyelids are halfway closed, right?
You're right.
In anime, we always try to make characters blink realistically. Of course, there are exceptions. If the character's showing their determination, it's alright for them to blink relatively slowly. When needed, we increase the number of frames. That works well for a dramatic effect.
Wow.
If you want to give the scene some depth, I believe it's always good to think about why the characters are blinking the way they are and what's behind it.
Interesting. Right. Let me zoom in so we can get a better look. We just went over my blinking animation, so now I'd like to try and animate hair. I tried coming up with a situation when the character's face is static, but the hair flutters around, and remembered a common trope of anime, that of fast-moving elevators. So, this was the result. The character's hair is flying all around their face as the elevator bolts downwards. When I got to this point, I showed my animation to Hanabushi, who gave me some advice to improve it. He said it would look more realistic if I animate the hair from the roots outwards. As you can see here, her hair waves from the roots, expanding outwards in all directions. Let's compare the two. In the bottom one that I made with Hanabushi's help, the hair moves in waves, while the first version looks a bit flatter. Also, in the bottom one, I was surprised to see how the hair looks much thinner, lighter, and almost three-dimensional.
This is the feedback I gave you. I tried drawing a character in the same pose as yours.
Yeah, I remember this.
First, if someone is riding a descending elevator, it will look like the wind is blowing from below them. We should remember that hair roots don't really move much because they're fixed to the head. But since there's a force in play, namely a wind source coming from below, the hair is pulled upwards and puffs up from its roots. That's how it looks when it's all puffed up. Of course, the roots stay where they are. I've drawn 4 frames. In this second frame, the hair closest to the roots has started to go back to its original position, while the ends are pulled even higher. In the third frame, the hair roots are in the starting position, but the ends are still a bit puffed up. Here the hair went back to its original state. We want this animation to loop, so the hair puffs up once again from its roots.
Wow, it looks amazing.
It's a loop, and this is roughly how hair flutter works.
The first time you talked me through this, it blew my mind. It was a revelation.
Wait, can I check the timesheet?
I may have made a bit of a mess.
Which one is which?
This one should be for the bottom animation.
Let me see. Three, 4, 5. I see. I think they're backward. One, two, three.
Oh,
Here you go.
it looks much more natural now.
Looks like the timesheet was backward.
I messed up.
We want a loop, so it should go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then back to 1. Instead, it went 5, 4, 3, 2.
I messed up big time. Now it looks way better. You're right. What did you mean by the timesheet is backward?
See, this animation goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then again 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's called a loop. But before it went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, backward.
I see.
Sort of like a boomerang. But you did a great job drawing the flutter. It's actually really hard to get right, but it looks good. There are some base rules when it comes to hair flutter. This 4-frame loop is actually the norm even in TV anime.
Oh, really?
4 is a good number, although there are different strokes for different people. 4 feels like the sweet spot for me.
I see.
When hair is tossed around harshly, for example after a blast wave, 2 frames are usually enough. You can loop them by going 1, 2, 1, 2. Just looping the same 1, 2, 1, 2 for a single second in an anime creates a pretty good hair flood animation. Sometimes we add some camera shake or, in the case of a blast wave, some dust. These all look good with just 2 frames.
See.
2 frames are usually enough to convey the wind blowing. Dragon Ball often uses this system. Wait, am I allowed to say anime titles?
You've worked on Dragon Ball as well, haven't you?
Yeah, in my previous life,
Your previous life?
before I became Hanabushi.
Okay. When I went back to illustration after trying my hand at animation, I realized the experience influenced my work. You can see that in this illustration I've drawn after doing these animations. For example, in the way her hair is flying around. In animation, you've got to think of which parts move how, which requires a bit of spatial awareness, but as a lazy illustrator, I've always been doing the line art on one layer and thinking of my illustrations as a whole instead. After doing animation, I started paying more attention to the separation of front hair and back hair, which, as you can see here, also shows in my recent work.
I see.
I use different layers and different colors, and I'm blurring out the hair in the back.
You convey that spatial awareness in your illustration.
Yeah, animation helped me a lot with that, even with bangs. I've been drawing them along the character's face, aiming to create a beautiful piece. Now I realized I can make the character's hair flutter and how fun that is. I tried doing that in this illustration, and as you can see, her hair is being tossed around quite a bit. I think I managed to make it look like her hair is being pulled up from below.
Yeah, it's very dynamic. You managed to capture how her hair would look in motion.
It's something I've started being conscious of after you taught me about animation.
She's spinning around and her hair is following after.
Yeah, exactly. I've thought carefully about how her hair should move if she's twirling around in that direction.
Considering how different things move around depending on their material and the space around them is a very animator-like thing to do.
I see.
That's part of the fun too. Thinking about what was going on before the moment you're painting and how things move in relation to each other. Things including the human body tend to move from their center.
Oh, you're right.
When we lift our arms, for example, first comes the shoulder, then the elbow, then the wrist. All thanks to our willpower saying, move.
Oh.
Hair follows the same principles. Hair is connected to our head like this, right? Are you filming this? It's kind of hard to explain, isn't it? People in animation often think about ponytails as single strings. If someone with a ponytail swirls around, the first thing to move will be the part of the ponytail that is closer to the head.
Right.
The roots move first, pulling the remaining hair along with them. However, as the hair in motion loses momentum, the parts that are farthest away from the roots will move less and less. Let's create a new document. Can you open the drawing you just showed me?
This one?
Can you zoom out a bit?
Here you go.
Thanks. This might take a while. This is gonna be our starting pose.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
This leaves me too little leeway. I'd better start over. We'll start from here, while this will be the ending position. From here, I'll draw the frames in between.
You're so fast. Super fast.
I'm just winging it. Wait, this pose looks a bit unnatural. One more frame. Now her body's moving too.
That's incredible. You made an animation just like that.
We'll use this as our base. I'll go with blue since we're drawing Hatsune Miku. Will this work? Will this suffice for pigtails? She's already in motion when we start, so let's have her hair already be swaying as well. She's spinning this way, so her hair should also follow along. This pigtail flows like this, but how about the other? According to the direction in which she's turning, it'll look like this. On to the next one. There's a force at play throughout the entire motion, so the first pigtail follows this path. The same goes for the second pigtail. You can start seeing the hair ends in the back. The pigtail that looked like this in the previous frame is pulled this way, and you can start getting the motions idea.
Oh, amazing.
At this point, the rotation is starting to lose momentum. While the head's almost still, there's still some leftover force that makes the pigtails sway. Let's see what comes next. The first pigtail will look like this, pulling its ends along with it, and the same goes for the other. It trails all the way to this position. In the next frame, she backs away.
Oh man, that's so cool. You're a genius.
She backs away, dragging her pigtails along with her. Both ends are still visible. The ponytail spread sideways and I need more frames. I'll draw one more. Right here. Here she makes a small nod, like she's just touched down on the ground. Her pigtails start coming down, but the ends are still hanging in midair. Oh, we're getting closer. The hair is still a bit puffed up over here, while the ends start falling too. They're kind of similar. Yeah, I'd say they're pretty close.
A proper animation.
The result's pretty similar. This should be it.
Wow!
It still feels like these frames aren't enough.
Whoa, it's moving!
I want to draw a few more frames. Much better. Not there quite yet.
Whoa, look at her go.
Now you should get an idea of her hair trailing with her motion. The last one should look more like this. Something like this. Yeah, way better. With this kind of rotation, the hair is pulled forward, completely hiding her body. If we're going to draw an illustration, we should be careful that the hair doesn't cover anything important.
You're right. I drew my illustration so that the lines of her body would still be visible. You're so fast at animating stuff. Really fast.
In animation, there's a thing called follow through. When it comes to hair, a good follow through is very nice to see. However, theory alone is not enough to create an interesting illustration, right? In theory, for example, if you decide to pose your character like this, then her hair should look exactly this way, covering parts that you actually want to show. Instead, you should consider the overall artwork's balance, much like illustrators do.
Watching you create your animations, I found it very interesting to learn how each part moves, by how much, and how some parts move faster while some move slower. Illustrations are basically a single static image, so it was eye-opening. Done. What I did is take the blinking animation and the hair flutter basics we've just seen and put them together in this animation. I also made her turn around. And this is the very first draft I sent to Hanabushi. I made it by feeling, but something still seemed off, and I wasn't really sure how to go about it.
You sent it to me, and I made this.
Yeah, you showed this to me after I sent you my video.
When I first saw your work, I felt like maybe it'd be better to arrange the animation sequence so that it'd tell a story. First, Miku's looking at the viewer, and then she turns around and smiles. But we need a motive behind her action. What made her look in that direction? The wind must have brought something with it. So here, for a moment, she is kind of pushed back a little. Maybe it blew something towards her. And when she turns around to check where the wind's coming from, something makes her smile. So by making up a sequence of events, we can tell a story.
That's right. When I made this, I didn't even consider why Hatsune Miku would move like that. I just made her turn around for the sake of it. But you pointed out that I should come up with a narrative, a reason that made her look over and smile, and make her actions intentional. I'd never thought of that before. So I took your advice and made some adjustments while using your animation as a reference. I also fixed the flow of her hair, and following your example, I added some particles dancing in the wind to convey the fact that she's standing outside.
I added some clouds and dust particles.
After seeing what the animation looked like with the addition of dust particles, I thought I'd do the same and make it look like Miku standing in a field against the blue sky, while some grass blades are swept away by the wind. At first, I also tried making it rain. My intention was to create a mood shift from negative to positive in a relatively short time span. Miku's movements in my first draft are all simple, and all of her hair is shifting at the exact same time following her head's gesture. Hanabushi's teachings made me much more aware of how things work.
But even from the beginning, you knew that since the wind was blowing, her hair was supposed to follow. So that's good. Did the hair give you a lot of trouble?
Yeah, it gave me quite a hard time. I wasn't sure how to go about it.
I guess you were dealing with so many things at once, right?
Yeah, trying to juggle everything's been tough.
That's right. With hair flutter, you hesitate, you lose.
You hesitate, you lose. Wise words. I must confess, I hesitated a lot at the beginning. I wasn't sure if her hair was really supposed to move that much.
Yeah, it's easy to get nervous with drawing hair. They're a crucial part of a character's identity, and changing up a hairstyle can make them look totally different.
Yeah, you're right.
I know what you mean. Even animators sometimes refrain from animating hair in certain ways for fear of making the character look off. But we shouldn't let that scare us. You hesitate, you lose.
You hesitate, you lose. I like that. Hatsune Miku has bangs and longer tufts of hair on the sides, right? If you mess it up and end up with a side part, or if the hair flies around so much that her forehead's too visible, she won't look much like herself anymore, so that gave me a hard time.
You'd end up with someone other than Miku.
That's right.
But your animation turned out fine.
This is the final result, which took me ages. In the previous animations, I'd only drawn the character, but this time I also added a background to create a setting and to put Miku in relation to other elements. The sky is a single frame, which I made a little bigger for the camera. And this is a result when you tap play. Something I didn't think of in the draft stage was to add a light source shining from the corner to convey a sense of positivity, of hopefulness. At first, Miku is in the shade and the only highlights are on her hair. As the animation unfolds, some light hits her face first and then her entire figure. When she looks up, it's like she's feeling the light with her entire body. I blurred these leaves in the foreground to put the focus on Hatsune Miku's face, and I think overall I managed to create an animation with a story.
Beautiful.
As I was making this, I realized that her hair should be moving throughout the entire animation. There are a total of 17 frames, 7 of which are of her face at this angle. I couldn't believe I had to draw so many pictures. I had fun, of course, but it took so much longer than I thought. I didn't expect animation to be this hard. There are so many things going on in just a handful of seconds.
That's because you've been working with a bunch of polished illustrations. It's not supposed to be so hard.
I even pushed myself to lower the level of polish as much as possible.
They're still very detailed.
When working on an illustration, I'd usually add one more layer of shadows, some more highlights, and color her eyes and her face more thoroughly. This is the finished result.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
I also zoomed in on the camera work as you taught me. I think this piece does a fine job of telling a story.
It's incredible that you could pull off such a high quality work and by only using Clip Studio.
I wanted to create an animation that would look nice no matter when you stopped it.
Whenever you stop it, you get a polished illustration. This really feels like a moving illustration.
That's kind of interesting, isn't it? For me, it felt like I was trying really hard to make an animation and not an illustration, but it still kind of is. It's been a lot of fun, much like illustration work, and it's a joy to look at. I think it looks quite polished too. I'm still a beginner, of course, but it'd be nice to animate more of my illustrations. Minasan, さんいかがでしたでしょうか? How was the video? アニメーションを作る上での考え方やアニメーションを作るようになってからのイラストへのフィードバックなど参考になったのではないでしょうか? We hope that you found seeing a different approach to animation and the feedback of the illustrations once they were animated useful. ミカさん、この VTR はいかがでしたか? How was this video, ミカさん?
いやー、なんかこう改めてこのこう見てみるとなんかこういろいろアニメーションを作ってきたなっていう気持ちにもなりますし、やっぱこう花節さんがすごい細かく説明して教えてくれるんで、なんかそれがやっぱりこうめきめきこう自分の中でもこうアニメーションの技術として育っていく感じがあるなって改めてこう思いました。
Well, watching it over again, I really felt that it was very impressive. I felt that I learned a lot from Hanabushi because his explanation was very good, very detailed, and I really feel like watching this over, my animation skills improved a lot. 花節さん、この VTR はありがとうございます。ミカさん。Thanks ミカ。花節さん、いかがでしたか ？How was this video? 花節さん。
いやー、そうですね。自分が喋ってるのはこっぱずかしかったですけど。ミカさん、そうですよね。コメントもね、でもめっちゃ流れてたけど、飲み込み早すぎですよね。
いやいや
本当にね。めちゃめちゃすごい本当に。いやもう僕も見ながらやばって思ってました。さっきやべえってコメントした。
Well, first of all, I didn't really like hearing my voice in the video, but watching it over again, I really felt that Mika learned very quickly and her skill was impressive. はい、ありがとうございます。では、質問コーナーに行きましょう。Okay, so now it's time for the Q&A. それではミカピカゾさんと花節さんにたくさんご質問いただいているようですのでご紹介したいと思います。Now let's take a look at some of the many questions that we received for Mika Pikazo and Hanabushi. はい、じゃあ早速お聞きしたいと思います。So I'm going to ask you the first question now. アニメーションの線はどのぐらい太くする必要がありますか？線の太さを正しく制御する方法。How thick should the animation lines be? How can I control the line thickness?
そうですね。これに関してはまあなんかこうしなきゃいけないっていう太さっていうのはないんですよね。絵について。まあそれはなんかただ線を太くすれば押し出しの強い絵になるし、まあ、細くすればなんかこう色の中に溶け込んだような画面になるから、どの画面を目指したいかによって線の太さを変えるっていう考え方になるかなっていう気がします。
Well, about the line thickness, there's no rule of what you must do. If you're going to be using thick lines, and that's going to look very dynamic, they're going to stick out. But if you're using thin lines, then the lines might blend in with the color. So, it really depends what you're going for. Anything is okay. ありがとうございます。はい。じゃあ次の質問です。Any advice for getting better at the principle of timing in animation? アニメーション内のタイミングを上手に調整するためのアドバイスがあれば教えてください。
そうですね。タイミングを聞いてくるってことは、芝居かアクションによって結構変わってくるんですけど、なんかでもよく使われるのは音ですね。なんかアクションは音で撮るっていうのが一番やりやすいかなって気がします。普通に組み手の時とか、武術の組み手の時とかにもなんかドンドンドンドンっていう音をなんか実際にこう机を叩いたりとかして欲しい打撃の音の感じとかをね、なんかこうみたいな感じで入れてみたら、今音入ったか分かんないけどこんな感じでやってみたりするとやりやすいんじゃないかなと思いますね。
Well, of course, to get better at timing, it depends on what scene you're trying to do, but I tend to use sound. Even when we're having a committee meeting about what to do, we'll say things like, okay, the sound is like don don don, and we'll even hit the desk like this. Maybe I'm not as strong, so you can't hear me, but so sound, hitting the desk. Cool. すごいです。すごく面白いです。はい、ありがとうございます。はい、次の質問はもうアニメーションについて花節さんへの質問です。So the next question is also about animation for Hanabushi. アニメーションを描いているとタイムラインやレイヤーがごちゃごちゃしてしまうのですが、見やすくする工夫などされていますか？ When I draw animation, the timeline and layers get cluttered. Do you have any tips on how to organize them understandably?
そうですね。これはね、ごちゃごちゃになっちゃうと思いますね。僕もごちゃごちゃしてます。そうだな。これはもうこればっかりはどうしようもないなっていう感じがするんですけど。そうですね。フォルダをうまく使いましょう。アニメーションフォルダを。
Well, me too. When I draw my animation, it gets really messy. That's the way it is. Let's try to use folders. 頑張りましょう。
頑張りましょう。
Let's try.
頑張りましょう。
ちょっと一言で説明しにくかったですね。
Sorry, just very simple explanation. ありがとうございます。はい。はい、じゃあフレームについての質問が来ました。リピートの4と1を自然につなぐのが いつも難しく感じてしまうんですが、何かコツはありますか？ I always find it difficult to connect the frame number 4 and number 1 in a hair loop naturally. Do you have any advice?
さっきの紙のなびきのやつですよね、きっとね、これはね。
はい、多分そうです。
そうですね。だからつまりこう4を書いてる時に1につなぐのを逆算して書いていかなくちゃいけないんですけど、でも基本的にはさっきのものからさっき書いたものからそう遠くないものになるっていうか、応用が効くと思うんで、さっきのを見ながら一度書いてみると、なんか他のなびきを書いた時にも割と応用できるんじゃないかなという気がしますね。そうなんですよね。こう2とか3とかを書いてる時にすでにこう4のことを考えてなくちゃいけないんですけど、こればっかりもう書いてこう自分の中にパターンを作っていくっていうしかないですね。もう数で勝負っていう感じです、ここは。
Well, of course, when you're connecting 1 and 4, you're going to have to like go backwards and connect them, right? And you should be able to do that kind of naturally. It shouldn't be so much of a difference between 1 and 4. Of course, when you are drawing frame 2 and 3, you should be keeping frame number 4 in mind. But it basically comes down to practice and creating your own pattern in your head to do this and have your animation connect. ありがとうございます。はい、ミカさん。
はい。
質問はございます。
お、来た。
お待たせいたしました。Sorry to keep you waiting. We have a question for ミカさん。
はい。
色彩についてなんですが、どういう基準で選んでいますか？色の組み合わせが難しくて、なんか法則的なものがあるなら教えていただきたいです。I'm wondering about colors and color schemes. What criteria do you use to select colors? It's hard to find the right combination of colors, so if there are any rules, I'd like to know.
そうですね。結構イラストを描くときにはこういう色を使おうみたいなのを結構ちゃんと決めているわけではないんですけど、やっぱり特に自分の場合だとカラフルだったり結構その激しい色を使うことが多いんですけど、一つだけそのカラフルだったりその激しい色、ビビッドな色を使う時に気をつけているのは、自分が見ても目が痛くならないレベルに抑えることが結構大事で、なんか派手であれば派手であるほどいいっていうわけじゃなくて、ちゃんと見て遠くから見ても目立つけどうるさくないっていうのが結構自分の中では大事な基準になっているんで、例えばそのビビッドな色をかなり強くして目が痛くなっちゃうなってなったらあえて下げたりすることもあります。あと結構白と黒の比率が絵の中で重要だったりします。
はい、ありがとうございます。So when I am creating art, I don't necessarily go out and choose the color from the start. I do like strong colors in my work, as you can see. However, I want to make sure that when people look at my artwork, they don't hurt their eyes. It's not going to be too overwhelming. So I try to go between colors that are vivid, but not too much. If it is a bit too strong, I will go back and adjust the colors so they are a bit more muted. And of course, it is also very important to add black and white where appropriate. ありがとうございます。はい。じゃあお二人に質問はございます。アニメーションの動作のおすすめの練習方法はありますか？ Do you have any recommendations on how to practice animating movements? 何かのアドバイスがあれば。
そうですね。アニメーションを描く上での動作のおすすめ練習方法。一つはロトスコープっていう方法がありますね。本当に単純に自分の動きをスマホでも何でもいいから撮ってその上からなぞっていくっていう方法ですね。これやるとかなりつかめるかなと思います。
はい。Hanabushi recommends using something called rotoscope. Even on a smartphone, you can record your movements and then check and see how they look in the rotoscope. 何かミカさんのおすすめありますか？
そうですね。なんか私は本当に自分自身が初心者なんで初心者向けの 練習方法かなと思うんですけど、まずやっぱりその本当にこの最初の動画でもお伝えしたこう目をパチパチさせる、まばたきさせるところから始まって、髪の毛を動かしてみよう、でちょっとこう顔を動かしてみようとか、一番基礎的な部分を勉強して、それでそれを応用したアニメーションを作る、ベーシックな動きを自分で作ってみて、それを最後にその何個かまとめてアニメーションにするっていうのが自分の中では一番その覚えていく練習法かなと思いました。
はい、ありがとうございます。Well, I'm just a beginner, but as you saw in the video today, I started from just practicing the basics. Eyes blinking, hair fluttering, face movements, and those kind of basic things. If you keep on practicing the basics, you can improve your animation movement. はい、ありがとうございます。ラストワン。ネイル聞きたいけど。はい。じゃあラスト2で大丈夫ですか？Okay, ラスト2質問に行きます。We have two final questions. One for Hanabushi, one for Mika. じゃあ最後の2つの質問はございます。はい、まず Hanabushi さんへの質問。SD キャラでアニメーションを作る場合、意識することやコツはあるでしょうか？ Are there any tips and tricks to keep in mind when creating animation with chibi characters?
なるほど。 SD キャラだと多分こう細かいところを動きを追っていくっていうよりも、なんか大まかなシルエットの動きを追っていく方がでそれで表現した方がこう見やすいものになると思うので、こうアニメーションっていういわゆるこう伸ばしつぶしっていうものを意識して描くと良くなるんじゃないかなと思うんですよね。こう柔らかいボールとかをイメージしてもらうといいと思うんですけど、こう壁に投げた時にボールこうやって潰れますよね。でこう戻ってくる時は一回伸びてから再び円に戻るじゃないですか、球体に。でそういう動きを意識しながら描くとこう SD キャラクターはかなりいい感じに描けるんじゃないかなって思います。
Okay, if you want to draw chibi characters, then you need to just think of the basic silhouette instead of detailed movements. Think of them as a rubber ball where they're going to stretch and squish. So if we throw the rubber ball against the wall, it's going to break down for an instant and then go back to normal. And we should try to think of chibi characters in the same way. はい、ありがとうございます。じゃあミカさんへの最後の質問です。はい。英語のコメント欄でネイルが登場したシーンでみんなめっちゃ盛り上がりました。ネイル、はい、私も盛り上がりました。When Mika's nails appeared in the English in the video, the English chat was going crazy. These nails are amazing. And me too, I love your nails so much. They're so cool. 何か一言コメント、ネイルのコメントお願いします。
そうですね、私ネイルが好きで、こう1ヶ月に1回とかネイルのお店に行ってこうネイルをこうよくネイリストさんにしてもらうんですけど、こうなんかこの動画のためにっていうのもそうなんですけど、派手なやっぱ色が絵もそうなんですけど好きなんで、ちょっと今回に合わせてミカピカゾっぽい色にしようかなって思ってそういうネイルしてきました。はい、でもなんかネイルすると絵描く時もテンション上がるので、興味がある方はぜひネイルしてください。
僕もしてみようかな。
ちょっとじゃあやってみましょう、花見さん、ネイル。
親指だけちょっと。
親指だけ。
So Mika Pikazo likes doing her nails. She gets them done about once a month at a proper nail salon. And well, she did choose these nails for this video. She chose something that was kind of like, standard Mika Pikazo colors. And when she is illustrating something, she looks at her nails, right? She's looking at her hands. So that gets her like really fired up. Her nails are cool. She feels really cool. And why don't you try that too if you want to get more excited about illustrating? And Hanabushi said he wants to try nails too. You should try. I recommend that. ありがとうございます。はい、じゃあそれで質問コーナーは以上でした。ありがとうございました。はい、それで終わりにします。じゃあテーマの説明に行きたいと思います。So I said at the beginning we have a theme for this program.So, Mika さん、テーマは何でしょうか？ Mika さん、what is the theme?
はい、今回、皆様に制作していただく作品のテーマは風です。
So the theme for your creation is wind.
イラストアニメーションの基礎表現である瞬き、なびき、振り向きのいずれか、または複数を使ったアニメーションを制作してください。
Please create something that implements any of the several basic expressions of illustration animation, like blinking, fluttering, or your character turning around.
そして、今回は色の指定もあります。こちらの3つの色をアニメーションに含めてください。色コードはピクシブの投稿企画ページでもご確認いただけます。このアニメーションの秒数は6秒以内となっています。
So there are also color specifications for this project. Please make sure to include these 3 colors in your animation. The color codes can be found on the Pixiv project submission page. Also, please make sure your animation is in 6 seconds or less. はい、ありがとうございます、ミカさん。
はい、
では、はい、ありがとうございました、ミカさん。はい、はい、では次、私はちょっと詳しい詳細をお伝えしますので、はい、Now I'm going to tell you more details about how to post your work on Pixiv. はい、どうぞ。はい、プログラムで説明した技法を自身の作品に実践して制作した作品は Pixiv に指定のタグをつけてご投稿ください。Please practice the techniques explained in the program on works of your own and post them to Pixiv with the tag Drawfest3 and post them to Pixiv with the tag #3_animation タグは Drawfest3_animation です。コピペが必要な方は YouTube の概要欄にも記載していますので、そちらをお使いください。If you prefer to copy and paste the tag, please do so. It is in the description below here on YouTube. Pixiv はイラストだけではなく、アニメーション GIF を投稿できるウゴイラと呼ばれる作品投稿形式があります。Pixiv is not only a place for illustrations, but also for ugoira works, which are animated GIFs that the user can upload to Pixiv. はい、今回のプログラムはアニメーション GIF で出力し、Pixiv に投稿をお願いします。GIF は最大256色での表現となりますのでご注意ください。また投稿容量はアニメーション GIF だと1ファイル16メガまで投稿できます。So for this program, we ask that you export your work as an animated GIF and submit it to Pixiv. But please note that the GIFs have a maximum limit of 256 colors and 16 megs per file. はい、で投稿期間をお伝えしたいと思います。投稿期間はフィードバックで前日の6月24日金曜日までに投稿された作品が選考の対象となります。Only submissions received until Friday, June 24th, the day before feedback day, will be eligible for the competition. 作品投稿に関しては6月30日まで投稿ページを設けておりますが、選考対象になるのは6月24日までの投稿作品に限ります。So although the submission page will be open until June 30th, we stress that only submissions received by Friday, June 24th will be considered eligible for prize selection. 来週のフィードバックデーではご投稿いただきました作品の紹介や改善点などのアドバイスを行います。またお二人より本プログラムの受賞作品ミカピカゾ&花節賞を選んでいただきます。On Feedback Day next week, we will showcase the submitted artworks and offer advice on how to improve them. Our guests of honor will also select a winner for this program who will take home the Mika Pikazo and Hanabushi prize. 受賞された方には商品として液晶ペンタブレット Wacom One 13がプレゼントされます。The winner will receive a Wacom One 13 pen display as a prize. 本日のプログラムは来週のフィードバックデーまでに同じ URL でアーカイブ視聴ができます。絵を描いている途中でわからなくなったことがあれば振り返ってみてください。 An archived video of today's program will be available at the same URL until next week's feedback day. If you get lost in the process along the way, you can always look back at this video again. それでは皆さん、ふるってご参加をお願いします。So please, everyone, have fun and participate. じゃあ最後の感想をお聞きしたいと思います。So I'd like to ask some final thoughts from our guests today. ミカさん、花節さん、作品制作のテーマや視点について法則やアドバイスなどはございますか？ Mika-san and Hanabushi-san, do you have any additional information or advice regarding the theme or design of this? 最初、Mika-sanお願いします。
はい、さっきのテーマの、作品のテーマは風で、3つの色をアニメーションに含めるっていうことなんですけど、これに関しては3つの色だけを使って作るっていうわけではなくて、他の色も全然使っていいので、なんかこう3つの色に縛って描くのもいいですし、この色だけじゃなくてもっとこうカラフルにしてみるのも何でも大丈夫なので、ぜひ作ってみてください。
So earlier, and we mentioned that the theme is wind, and there are 3 colors. However, do not make your animation with only these 3 colors. You're not restricted to just these 3. Please make a very colorful work. はい、ありがとう。はい。はい、じゃあ花節さんお願いします。
そうですね。もうなんだろうな、こう参加してくれる方々の本当に自由な発想みたいなものが見たいなって、自由なアニメが見たいなと思うので、本当に何かこう今回のもうね、なんか講義の内容に縛られることなく、本当に自由に書いてもらえればいいかなっていう気がします。うん。はい。そんな感じです。
ありがとうございます。はい、yes, I want to see everyone's original work. Go crazy, have fun. Don't feel restricted. I really want to see something creative and original. はい。ありがとう。
最後に一ついいですか？
はい、どうぞミカさん。はい、
さっきお伝えした風のテーマなんですけど、私も同じテーマで1週間でこのアニメーションを作れるかわからないんですけど、作る予定なので、その制作過程も私のツイッターアカウントで公開できたらなって思ってるので、もしよかったら一緒にアニメ頑張って作っていきましょう。
So I want to tell you one more thing. I am also going to be creating an animation during this week with the theme of wind. So check my Twitter. I'm going to be uploading all of my progress as I go, and let's all do our best. Let's all work together to make a really nice animation with this theme. はい、ありがとうございます。じゃあそろそろお時間となります。本日はミカピカゾが花節に学ぶイラストアニメーション道場というテーマのお話いただきましたが、改めましていかがでしたか？ So, what did you think of today's program? Welcome to the Animation Dojo. Mika Pikazo learns from Hanabushi. まずはミカさんお願いします。So, ミカさん、any final thoughts?
はい、そうですね。改めてなんかこう自分でも振り返ってみると、なんかこうまだまだ花節さんに教えてもらいたいこともありますし、なんかそれをこう自分でも作っていって、どこかでこうなんかまたこういう形でどんどんこう話していく機会があったら嬉しいなって思うぐらい、本当イラストアニメーションっていうのは楽しいものだなって思うので、なんかちょっとこうなんだろう、これを機に一緒に始めてくださる方がいたら本当に嬉しいです。
So after watching this video again, I really felt that there's much more that I want to learn from Hanabushi, and it really is fun doing animation. And I hope that this enjoyment could, extend to the viewers as well. ありがとうございます。続きまして、花節さんお願いします。花節さん。
はい、そうですね。なんか僕自身もなんて言うんだろうな、その人に教えて初めてこう自分が考えていることが言葉にできるっていうか、言葉にして初めて僕ってこういうこと考えてたんだなみたいな、そういうのを確認するいい機会になったなって思ったので、なんかこういう機会与えてくれてっていうか、なんか美香さんが教えてくださいって言ってくれて本当にありがたいなと思いました。すごい楽しかったです。ありがとうございました。
So this was actually my first time teaching. So I thought about like, how can I put what I'm thinking into words? And I realized like, oh, that's what I was thinking after arranging it and putting it into words, right? So this was a really nice chance for me to kind of discover my own thoughts. And I'm really thankful that Mika asked me to teach her. はい、ありがとうございます。じゃあ finally, we have some special information from Hanabushi. そしてHanabushiさんからのお知らせがあります。どうぞ。あ、素晴らしい動画でしたね。あの動画は何でしたか？ That was a really cool video. What was it? Can you tell us about it?
そうですね、最後に宣伝させてもらいまして
おい
いや今ゲームを制作中でして、ピギー1スーパースパーク2023年目指しで制作中なので、皆さんよろしくお願いします。
わあ楽しみだ、
は
すごい。
はい。
So that was just something I wanted to kind of promote to you guys. I am going to be making a video game called Piggy 1 Super Spark, and I am aiming for a 2023 release. I hope you will all look forward to it. Mika is looking forward to it. Mika さん楽しみにしていますね。
いやもうめちゃめちゃ楽しみにしています。
はい。
頑張ってください。
頑張ります。
Yeah, do your best, fight.
頑張ります。
Yes. はい、ありがとうございました。はい、では最後にこの後のプログラムのご案内です。So let me tell you a little bit about the next program. この後13時からは原人と波へさまざまな色と質感で可愛いキャラクターとシーンを作ろうを予定しています。After this, from 12 a.m. midnight Eastern Standard Time, we will have Genshin Impact and Namie create cute characters and scenes with a variety of colors and textures. こちらも創作活動に必ず役立つ内容となっておりますので、ぜひ引き続きご視聴ください。This program is also sure to be of use to you in your creative endeavors, so check it out. I will be there. 私は担当させていただきますので、ぜひ頑張りましょうね、皆さん。私も楽しみにして、今日楽しい日です。
ありがとうございました。
すごい嬉しいです。はい、でもナミエさんのプログラムの一点注意したいなんですが、こちらの番組は現在配信 URL と異なりますので、事前にお送りしているリンクを間違えないようにご注意ください。This URL, the URL for Namie's program is different from this one, so please check your email and move to the link that is listed there. はい、じゃあ締めさせていただきます。
はい、
ドローフェス2つ目のプログラム、ミカピカゾが花節に学ぶイラストアニメーション道場をお送りしました。That's a wrap for Drawfest3's second program. Welcome to the Animation Dojo. Mika Pikazo learns from Hanabushi. 登壇者のミカピカゾさん、Hanabushiさんでした。お二人ともありがとうございました。そう、ミカピカゾさん、Hanabushiさん、ありがとうございます。
ありがとうございます。
こちらこそありがとうございました。
See you guys.
Thank you.
Yay, bye. you.